check this out. Before we get started, if you're listening to us on our Mumbo Sauce Radio YouTube channel and haven't done so, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you can get notified whenever we drop a new episode or go live. And if you're listening to us on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, subscribe to us there as well. All right, now let's get to it.
You are now listening to the Mumbo Sauce Podcast. Hell yeah. Keeping it litty for the Chocolate City.
What up, it's your man Tony John. You tuned into the Mumbo Sauce Podcast here on Mumbo Sauce Radio. We got Katie and Sean on the line joining us once again. Also, we have a special guest this evening. My man Val called to check in and talk to us about this whole 21 Savage deportation situation. Now, as some of you may or may not know, 21 Savage, who is a new young rapper out of Atlanta, is currently being held by immigration officials for overstaying his visa. Not sure why they waited till now to come and get him. I mean, he's been a celebrity for a couple years now, but hey, go figure. Anyway, he claims to be from the streets of Atlanta, but currently he's being held without bond by ICE officials. So we got my man Val on the phone to shed some light on the whole situation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know what? I was just like 21 Savage when I was facing deportation. Reason being is because, I got some charges from when I was younger. I moved to the States when I was 8 years old.
Right.
Back in '94 or whatnot. And, and moving to this country, man, it was like young Haitian kids or like Jamaican, whatever, like Africans, like we don't get like the deportation talk, like when you doing your immigration work, like your passports and everything.
Right.
No one sits you down and say, hey, you know what? If you get in trouble, if you like cough wrong, like you'll be like deported for any little thing, right? So like our parents just always told us about people getting deported, but those are usually like big time, drug dealers or like murderers, people that's like got really serious crimes.
Right.
But a lot of us, not like young, immigrants, black immigrants in this country, like growing up in this country, we don't, we forget that, we're not American.
Right.
And so, we fall into, the system and stuff. And then when we do, it catches up to us. We have to face immigration as well. And that's what happened to 21 Savage. He's faced a criminal justice, and now he has to face, immigration. And I mean, that's double jeopardy at its best.
So Val, I got one question for you real quick. So his father has his citizenship. So, I mean, from your perspective, or people that you might know, or your personal experiences, how is it that his father got his shit straight and he may not have got his shit straight?
All right, so his dad probably just like my family. All of my family are like citizens.
Right.
I'm not, because when I turned 18, I got in trouble. So if you get in any type of criminal troubles or anything like that, you cannot become a citizen, especially if you have a felony. I got in trouble as soon as I turned 18. Now I could have gotten my citizenship at the age of 13, but nobody was thinking about that. My family wasn't and that's the mistake that some of our immigrant families make, is we're not thinking about my mom was not thinking about me growing up and catching a charge and having to face deportation for it, because she knows she wasn't raising a drug dealer or a murderer or somebody who's gonna have a serious charge. But fortunately, I did get into a fist fight. I did catch a felony for that. And because of that, I was facing deportation. I was classified the same as somebody who had a murder charge, somebody who had a rape charge, somebody who had a child, molestation charge. I was classified the same. So that's considered a crime of violence. And, they don't look at the nature of the crime. It's just you have a felony. And your felony carried a 5-year sentence. It was all suspended, but so what? It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that you have this charge, and this charge classifies you the same as any other serious charge. That's how immigration works.
So I don't want to get too much deep into your business, but all I know is I seen this nigga 1 minute, and then the next it was like this nigga got swept up by the rapture. Like, I don't know, this nigga was on some motherfucking, I don't know if they took you to a ship in Guantanamo Bay or some shit. Like, he seen my other man that was from Jamaica there, that nobody knew that he was in the joint, you know what I'm saying? It's real wild. And then the nigga got released, and then like they came and picked him back up on some Obama's not in office anymore. The laws have changed. So can you speak to those laws that changed?
Exactly, yeah. So, like, and that's the thing is, like, immigration laws is, like, constantly changing, like, and it pretty much is just whatever administration want to do with the immigration law, and that's what's going to happen. So I know when I was dealing with immigration, for, like, 3 years. I was first detained for, like, 8 months. And I actually won my case. Like, there's no, like, that's how it is. It's like, there's no, like, guilty or innocent. It's just like they grant you some type of relief, and if you get to stay, if you qualify to stay, you can be granted some type of relief. But it's either you win or you lose. So I won my case through, like, a relief that was what was the relief? It pretty much was waived. Like, they waived my charge, and they said I was good to go. But, like, DHS was not having that. DHS was like, no, this guy has a crime of violence. We want him out of the country. So what they did is they appealed. They appealed the relief that I was granted by the judge. And so when I got there, I was released. But while the appeal was going on, obviously I had to wear an ankle bracelet because they didn't want, like, me to try to leave the country or try to like go get a visa somewhere else. Like, that's how they think. They just think, like, well, we have to hold him until due process is complete, so that way we can make sure that he has no other type of documents to go anywhere else or get back in the country. So at that time, while the bill was going on, Obama was just leaving office and Trump was coming in. And so the law that actually helped me to have that relief was the law that was in effect when Obama was in office.
And what was that?
Once Trump came in office, they did away with that law. So therefore, they came back and picked me up while I was under the appeal and told me that the appeal had been sustained. You're back to being, like, you know, this aggravated felon. That's how they classified it.
So what was the law? What was the law like in layman's terms that Obama had that was different from Trump's?
It's not that different, you know what? Because, like, with Obama, like, all they did was, like, Obama was for immigration reform for people who were, like, illegal, who didn't have, like, any papers. Right. Obama was okay with people like me getting deported. Like, it was like, okay, well, he's got a felony charge. Like, yes, he should be facing deportation. But, like, all those immigration reform is not for people like me and, like, people like 21 Savage. Like, because we're perfectly legal in this country. It's just the fact that we go against the quote-unquote immigration laws. And if you go against the immigration laws, then, you know, you face deportation. But so when Trump got in office, pretty much, like, the laws changed in a way where he gave the ICE agents to go ahead to do whatever it is they wanted to do. So they can go pick you up at a hospital. They can, like, even if you like me, they had no right to pick me up. Like, I was under appeal. Like, I was granted a relief and release. So therefore, like, nothing should have happened to me until, like, you know, I went back to court again, and then they were saying, all right, well, like, appeal's been sustained, you lose this time, whatever. But when they came and picked me up, and this is, like, verbatim, like, I was like, what's going on? Like, why you guys picking me up? I thought, like, you know, I was under appeal. And the agents looked at me and just started laughing. They said, no, we have a new administration. Do we get to go ahead to do whatever we want to do now?
Man, so they just blatantly gonna tell y'all that they being racist, pretty much.
Yo, yes, like, this is, like, verbatim. Like, these things don't leave my head. Like, they're, like, stuck in my head, man, because, like, it was just one of the worst times of my life, man. Like, your whole life flips upside down. Because, you know, just to, like, go back to what I was saying earlier, and I know I'm kind of like I was kind of jumping all over the place, but like growing up in this country, man, we just don't think about that. We forget that we're not American. We forget that we were born abroad. Why? Because I grew up just like you guys. Grew up watching the same shows, same textbooks, went to the same schools. So and then we lose the accent so quick, right? Because like our first language is not really like our first language. Like we come early to this, like we come like early on in to this country, and it's like we're learning a different language, and we lose the accent so fast.
Shit, you niggas would go to North Carolina for the summer and come back country as hell.
Exactly.
Yeah, learn how to move.
You know?
Hey, Val, I wanted to ask you a question. This KD, man. When you saying you're going through the visa, the appeal process, so you were actually in process to trying to get in order when it happened?
Well, no. So like, all right. So pretty much like I'm a permanent resident. Like I would never have to go anywhere in this country. Like as long as I'm like, out of the way, like I'm fine, right? But just the charges that I caught affected my immigration status. But by the way, so I caught those charges in 2005. Like I have some felony charges. They caught up to me in 2015, 10 years later.
Okay.
So there's no statute on immigration. Like you can be deported for something you did 30 years ago.
That's
you
crazy.
can be deported for there's so many 18-year-olds right now, in detention centers all over America, waiting to face deportation for smoking a joint, for getting into an argument with a friend, and that friend pressed charges on them, and it wasn't even anything serious. That's going on all over this country. People don't think about it. They think it's just if somebody's illegal, you get deported. Nah, there's a mass exodus going on in this country.
That's why I'm glad that you here to, shed some light on the situation, because to me it just seems like, okay, if you black, if you're a person of color, that means if you black, if you Spanish, if you a Muslim or whatever, you cannot, especially if you coming to America and you living in the hood, you feel me? It's kind of hard not to get yourself into anything, you know what I mean? So ain't nobody perfect, you know what I mean? When white motherfuckers came over here, they was immigrants, you know what I'm saying? They started the mafia, all of that shit. They wasn't trying to deport them motherfuckers.
The president's parents is immigrants.
Those detention centers make up of 50% Hispanic, 20, let's say 30%, the other let's just say 40% Africans and others Jamaicans, Asians, whatever. And the others are Middle Eastern and stuff like that, and literally 1% European, less than 1% European.
But
man.
they came here. They came here and stole the land from Indians, from Native Americans.
So it's black and brown people. Majority, 90% of this shit is, but 85-90% is black and brown people.
But they the first immigrants though.
That's correct. You know how many Russians, Europeans overstay their visa? You know how many Irish, bars that's just constantly, all over the place. But they don't face deportation like us.
It's kind of like jaywalking. They enforce it on who they want to.
They enforce it on who they want, So, I mean, yeah.
Because the reason why I was asking you the question is because third party, I'm not going to say from who or where, but I heard, throughout the course of the last week since it happened to 21 Savage there, when you're in his situation, that it's not even really a lockup situation. It's usually a fine associated with, because they said that he's already applied for his visa, even though since he's been wealthy, he's already applied for it since it's been expired. So they already knew where he was at, supposedly all this time or whatever. But they're he's they would have a reason to deny him if he was a menace to society or if he wasn't a productive citizen. And he's qualified for both of those things, but there's still no reason why he's being locked down or incarcerated at this point in time, even though he has the money to clear. So they're just waiting to see what they're gonna do with him at this point. It's at their discretion.
Well, he's definitely going to be detained for at least like another month. Like, immigration doesn't move that slow. There's so many immigration cases, and there's not that many immigration judges. So, like, if you have an immigration case that you're fighting on the outside, like when you're not being detained, it could take up to like 2 years, 3 years. When you're detained, it takes at least like 2 months before like you get to go in front of a judge and they decide, all right, well, here's your release, here's your bond to fight your case from the outside, or here's no bond, and now you have to fight the case from the inside, which could take up to like 6 months. And from there, it's either a flight back to where you're from, or you just get released to like your home, like back to the streets, back to like.
And that's cold.
Yeah. It's not. He's not getting out right now. He's not gonna be this. Like money, like his money does not gonna help him. Like if I know immigration laws the way I learned it for these past 3 years, he won't be released like for another month or two.
Yeah, and when I was talking to Val when he was going through a situation, man, you know what I'm saying? He was like, man, I don't know nobody in Haiti, man. Like, I came here at 8, you know what I'm saying? Like, this all I know. Like, so, like, think about that, him going back to the UK, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what age he came here, but, I mean...
That means the UK wouldn't be so bad, man. How about, like, little, like, African kids getting sent back to Liberia, man, to war zones, man? And they've been in this country since they were 1.
Wow.
Like 1 year old, 2 years old, they getting sent back to war zones, man.
Yeah.
Like that's happening every day, man. And why? Like for smoking a joint, man. Like 18. Like I know a little homie right now with the same name as me. His name is Val Johnson. He got sent back to Liberia, man. We call him 90s baby, man. He's a kid, man. He's a kid. He got deported at the age of 18. Like he's a kid. You know?
Yeah.
Damn.
Like,
wow.
See, we don't think about this. Like you said, Val, like all we think about is what we see on the news. And see, the news, that's what the news does. It just brainwashes people into having a certain stereotype about a certain group of people, which isn't really true. And that's really not what it is. It's smoke and mirrors. So, you know, I'm just glad, like I said, to have you on and talk about this, you know what I mean? Because we the underdogs. We talk about what's really real, you know what I'm saying? Like the news is just going, you know, play with you, man. Like, you know, people don't know this side of the, you know, of the equation. They like, man, yeah, you know, I want to get rid of these, you know, these immigrants too. You know what I'm saying? They be driving slow and all this shit. Like they, you know, Trump be having people on this division shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think he wants it like that so that, you know what I mean? Like it's all a part of the population control. It's all a part of the, okay, let's start this World War III. It's all about, you know what I'm saying, division and segregation and you know what I'm saying?
Shit, divide and conquer, man.
When really, man, you know, all we really want to do is love each other, man, and you know, be in harmony. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish I can go. I mean, you know, on another note, I wish I can go back to Africa and connect, you know what I'm saying, with my true people or, you know, my Native American side or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, but I'm stuck here in America to deal with this bullshit. Like, if I was an immigrant, I wouldn't want to come to fucking America. I ain't even gonna lie to you, man.
Man, I lived in Germany, man. And I moved to Germany when like 80s, but I stayed in there for like in the 84 to like 87, well 86. Let's just say 86, and I was like the first Black American in the neighborhood because they were doing the same thing they're doing here, building all these new houses and new, you know what I mean? And housing for my dad, it was like a 2-year waiting list. Long story short, man, it's a culture shock. First of all, and everything that I believed on the movie, I thought they was gonna kidnap me. I thought all this type of crazy shit. Man, they treated me like I was the best thing in the world, man. Universal language, I couldn't speak no German. You know what I mean? But they were so big on, man, you from America, blah, 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 this, and that. But I'm going to tell you this. Ever since Bush been in office, Bush was in office, and then Trump, they have a whole different demeanor.
Which Bush?
And taste in their mouth.
Bush 1 or Bush 2?
The second one.
Okay.
Because, you know, he only had one term. You know what I'm saying? And then Clinton got in office. But it, you know, they haven't about coming. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I tell you what, though, Tone.
Yeah.
I do got to check out. I really wanted to just go really deeper into this, man. I gotta go back in and shut it down.
My bad, man. You know, we was trying to get the phone lines together. We can, you know, continue this some other time, man. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say, I think we should, man. I really think we should.
Yeah, I think
I didn't even get to talk about
man,
Marcus
good
Garvey.
hearing from you, bro.
Talk about
I want
what?
to talk about Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey. Okay, yes, that's a good one,
that's
man.
a good one.
That's the first man who ever got deported out this country, man. You know? So
Yeah, my son had to dress up yesterday. They told him they could wear the Pan-African color flag, so I had to explain to him what Pan-Africanism was.
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
So I had to break that down to him on Thursday, and he didn't know who Marcus Garvey was, so we had to have that conversation.
Right. Yeah,
But
man.
it's great hearing your story, brother, man, and appreciate the time.
No problem, man.
Appreciate you, Val.
Too.
Text me, man. Let me know when you're available to talk again.
Nope. No problem. We'll do it, brother.
All right, love you, bro.
All right, man. Peace be with you, man.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
You too. Bye.
Hey, Smoke, you been too